and welcome to our 7th grade newsroom. Today we're going to be talking about imperialism. Imperialism started in the late 1800s when all of the Europeans rushed into Africa and Asia. So what's the rush, right? Why are we going into Africa and Asia? Well, for a couple reasons. First of all, the Industrial Revolution.
The Industrial Revolution is a cause of imperialism.
All of these countries in Europe are industrialized. They have these big factories. What do you need for a big factory? You're going to need some natural resources. So they're like, where can we get some new natural resources? Where can we go? Well, Africa and Asia, good places to go. They don't have the weapons to defend themselves, and they have tons and tons of natural resources. So this is what the Europeans do. They go into Africa, they take all the natural resources, bring them back to Europe, make them into cool stuff, and then they take those cool things and they give them back to the Africans and the Asians and say, here, buy this from me. And then they make boatloads of profits. All right, another thing to remember is that more money equals more power. So the more money you have, the more power you have. The more land you have, the more money you have, the more power you have. So basically, these bigger countries are taking over weaker countries because they want more power. The other reason that these Europeans decided to go into Africa and Asia is because they think they're better than them. They think their culture is better, and they're like, well, if we can make them more like Europe, we're doing them a favor. So let's go in, take over, and then make them be like us. France and England, very imperialistic. They go into Africa, into Asia, and they start taking over everything. Sometimes they rule the countries directly, and sometimes they rule the countries indirectly. You need to know the difference. So directly means that a British person is going to actually move to the country that they're taking over. They pack up their suitcases. They're like, I'm going to live over here in Africa.
So remember, direct rule is when a British person, an actual representative, moves to Africa and controls the people while he lives there.
Indirect rule means that the British are going to take a local person that already lives there and they're going to put them in power. But that person really doesn't have a ton of power. That person has to contact the British with any major issues, and the British basically tell them what to do.
Indirect rule is when a local government is put in charge, but that local government has to answer to the imperialistic country who's telling them what to do.
Another type of indirect rule is a sphere of influence. That basically means that the British just have control of the trade. They're going to influence that country, and they're going to have a say in all of just the really, really important. Either way, imperialism has a huge impact on the countries that they take over. There are lots of positive effects, and there's a lot of negative effects. Positive effects. Those countries are now going to have an infrastructure, hospitals, schools, manufactured goods, weapons they didn't have before. All those sorts of things are brought into these countries, and all these industrialized nations have new things for them. So some of the negative things would be that they lose their entire culture. They're going to be more and more like the European country. Those people that were making handmade goods that they had learned from their grandmas and their grandmas, they're not making those handmade goods anymore. They lose their job because now everything's being made in factories in a different country. Music is going to change. The religion is going to change. And so it really disrupts the way of life in Africa and Asia. So recap, industrialization causes imperialism throughout the world. These European countries go into other countries, take over, steal their natural resources, and then control that country either directly or indirectly. We're going to learn a lot more in the other videos about specific things that happen in these countries. Thanks for tuning into our news broadcast. Have a great day.